welcome back to Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
Today we're asking the question, why are Americans so obsessed with ancestry and heritage? And
I see this question a lot online. There's I was just gonna say
my grandfather's Irish.
My question,
you know,
because the answer to this question that you just posed, the question that is the topic for the podcast, to me is very simple. But my question is, why do British people get so angry about Americans claiming to be Irish? Why are British people
it's not
so
British people. No, it's Irish
that?
people. It's not British people.
I think it's both.
I mean, British people just get angry they'll jump on any bandwagon. It's like,
why are Americans
for
always
example,
saying they're Irish with the
for
"Kiss
example,
Me, I'm Irish" t-shirts and everything,
and the green beer? What's all that about? No, it's like, they'll get mad. They'll get mad at anything, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if Americans said, "Well,
you say
know
it's
what?
Irish people."
I've seen a lot of
I've
seen a lot of Irish people on forums and stuff going, "You're not Irish. You're from Boston. You've lived in Boston all your life. You know, why are you saying you're Irish?
Yeah.
You've never been to Ireland, you know?"
Yeah.
It's like, I'm Irish. You know, I get, because they presumably meet people online. And they go, where are you from? Oh, I'm from County Sligo, not in Ireland, you know. I'm from Dublin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cork or whatever. And they go, oh, I'm Irish. My grandfather... and it's like, yeah, okay. My grandfather was from... Oh, where was he from now? He was from somewhere in Ireland. I know he was from somewhere in Ireland. It was definitely Irish. Because they always used to say, my great-grandfather was from somewhere in Ireland. He was, and I remember my mom always saying that, you know, and my dad always saying, always remember you're Irish. And so we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and we drink green beer, and we wear shamrock hats, and we worship the leprechauns, you know.
Nobody says we worship leprechauns.
Yes, you do. You do. And so we eat Lucky Charms every morning. And Irish people are like, what does that even mean? Jesus.
Oh my God. All right. You've gone way too far there.
I have not. I've never been to Ireland, though. So, you know, I have no room to talk.
I mean, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but it goes.
Well, no, it's going.
It's
obsessed. It's obsessed with Irish heritage.
I mean, to be fair, there was a big influx of Irish immigrants to this country
and Italian
at certain points in history. So, you know, a lot of people in this country do have Irish roots, and Italian and German and, you know, whatever. And what's wrong with, I don't understand the fury that people...
There was a lot of fury over this.
People in Britain and Europe get when Americans say, I'm
British.
Whatever, too.
Yeah. I'm British. Let's just say I'm British.
Yeah.
Because
I'm Scottish. Yeah, sometimes they'd say,
I'm Scottish.
Yeah. My grandpa used to wear a kilt. You know,
my grandpa used to wear a kilt. Yeah, I remember my grandpa wearing a kilt.
Yeah.
He was really into being into Scotland.
But it's like, why do British and European people care if Americans...
Because it's like you're American.
Yeah.
You know, just be American.
Okay, so let's bring it back.
Bring it all back home.
Because you just said it. Be American. What is American, though?
It's American.
Right.
Yeah.
No, what is it?
You've got to figure that out.
You just said be American. What is American?
You've got to figure that out. Because you've spent so much time going, oh, I'm Irish. Oh, I'm Italian. Oh, I'm Greek. Oh, I'm British.
But that's why people do that.
I'm African. I'm whatever. You know, it's like what? So you've just basically come here and you're setting up your own little colony then.
Mm.
And
have you ever heard of Chinatown?
Yes, Chinatown.
You know?
Exactly. Well, yes. There you go. But it's like everyone it's like, oh, we do American things like hot dogs and hamburgers and grills and
Because
the
that's
flag and stuff. And it's like, is that all your culture has, though? Is that all being American means?
Well, I mean, sort of. No, I think this is a really interesting discussion because the problem is that you, being from Britain, and not just you specifically, but British people, or you know, French people, or Spanish people, Italian people, whatever. The people in particularly European countries that criticize Americans for hanging on to roots that go back generations. You know, nobody in their family is actually from Ireland for the past century and a half.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'd be at home in Ireland. Oh, yeah, you know, I'd be at home in Britain. It's just like, no, you wouldn't.
But the reason people in this country cling to those roots is because we don't have, our history as a country is not as old as yours.
The same argument could be said for Australia, though.
Yeah.
But Australians don't go on about their heritage.
Because I think Australia is much more British than America.
Yes.
There's not quite as many immigrants from all over the rest of the world in Australia. And that's, I am saying that without knowing whatsoever, if I have any basis.
The vast majority are descended from prisoner ships and everything like that, you know, like what was, you know, transportation. Yeah.
Whereas in this country, Britain colonized a very small portion of this country. You know, we learn about the revolution and all of this kind of stuff in this country. When in actuality, I am from Texas. My family is from Texas back before Texas was Texas. And we didn't have anything to do with the revolution or the British people or any of that kind of nonsense. But that is still what we learn in school.
The revolution and the British people.
And so as you start to get older, you start to realize a bit more, wait a minute, you know, the revolution, my people, and
weren't even involved in it.
Yeah, didn't have anything to do with the revolution. I don't know anybody that was in the revolution.
This isn't my country. Get out of here.
Yeah. And so it's like, then you start to wonder, all right, what then, you know, what is my, you know, but I'm American, but what does that mean? And it's
proud to be an American.
And it's kind of weird to think that it doesn't really mean a whole lot beyond hot dogs or the 4th of July or whatever. The 4th of July, again, is a celebration for just a tiny something that happened in just a tiny portion of this country. Yeah. And I do understand that in Britain and in Europe, it's difficult for you guys to understand that, because
severely difficult,
because where you are from is where all your people have been from forever.
Yes, that one little island for generations and generations. We just lived in the same town, in the same house for decades.
I mean, in a lot of cases,
yeah,
that's true.
I'd like to meet people who, you know, says, "Oh, I've owned this. You know, this has been in my family for, you know, 2,000 years."
Mm. Yeah. No, I mean, you laugh, but that
hasn't been updated since then either.
You laugh, but those people do exist, don't they, in Britain?
Well, yeah, they do. Yeah,
and that is not, and that's not a thing over here. So,
well, I mean, because it can't be, because, you know, it's like you had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, we are a melting pot, so therefore, we have to pass down the stories that came from our ancestors of,
that's what it is.
Grandpa Macmillan coming over from Ireland,
yeah,
over from Ireland, or I guess Macmillan would be more Scottish, wouldn't it? But
Macmillan,
yeah.
I don't know if there's a Macmillan.
O'Donnell, then.
O'Donnell.
You know, Grandpa, you know, great Grandpa O'Brien coming over from Ireland. We have to cling to those stories because that's all we have.
Yeah, because it's like, it's to say, we're different from the Vietnamese people down the street, or, people from Colombia, we
can relate to them on the level of, let's go out and shoot fireworks and eat hot dogs together. But what beyond that?
Well, what beyond that? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, in Britain, what do people have, to relate to them?
Your history. Your history. Your history for centuries and centuries and centuries all together.
I'm not talking about,
as a people.
I didn't go
on
on my street. I didn't go to say, oh, do you remember that Henry VIII? What a bastard, eh?
Oh, he was your great-great-great-grandpa, was he? Oh, get off my street.
Not living on this street anymore. Because I'm related to Jane Seymour.
I mean, just because you didn't have those conversations
or Anne Boleyn
with your friends or your neighbors, that's not my problem. You know what I mean?
That's not my problem that you were not talking about your thousands of years of history with you.
Those conversations were possible, though. And you guys all know that. You guys all have that shared history, whether it's spoken or not. You know what I mean?
I suppose so. I mean, yeah.
We don't have that. We only have a couple of centuries worth of history in this country,
Colonization is another one. I mean, we never talk about it, really.
What do you mean?
The colonization and everything in Britain.
What, you and I?
No, me and my fictional neighbors. Me and my neighbors.
Yeah.
We never just sat down with a cup of tea and talked about, lost India, and, lost the Americas, and.
Yeah, but you don't have to, because you just know it. You just know that. You've learned it all in school. You all know that you've all learned the same things, and it's all your people,
World War II.
That's
the most recent thing that everyone kind of has a big blitz spirit.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot more recent, and we in
and that's all we go on about is World War II now.
And I think that's
when Britain started.
And I think that's why Americans do it too, because that is something again that we can bond over. All of our grandpas fought in World War II together.
Yeah. Well, this generation anyway.
We all went over and bailed England out. We all went over and won.
If it hadn't been for America, England wouldn't be here.
We all won the war.
I wouldn't be able to be here.
Speaking German, isn't that what they all say on the internet?
Standing on this, we all be speaking German. Yes. Like we aren't anyway, because we got Aldi now. We go down Aldi for our German fix.
Little. But that's why. That's why we're obsessed with heritage, because we don't have one yet. I think if this planet survives,
like what are you doing over there? Come back and live in Germany.
If this planet survives, however many more centuries, then probably, our descendants, our American descendants, they won't still be clinging to their Irish heritage or their,
Yeah.
But because it's still so recent, they want to feel some sort of connection. I say they as if I'm not one of them. We want to feel some sort of connection to where we came from. We want to feel some sort of connection to history.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously America as a land mass existed all the same amount of time that Britain has been an island.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
But we don't.
Well, it developed the culture.
Here,
because it's still kind of developing, I suppose. But I don't know. You ask a British person what's American culture, they're going to say hamburgers, hot dogs, 4th of July.
What's an American's going to say the same thing? What else?
Oh, well, we have guns.
This is a question. This is a question we didn't think to put out until just insurance. Now, as we're recording this.
Twinkies.
I think we'll put the question out. So you're listening to this podcast. We'll put it out on the day that this podcast goes out.
Yeah.
Well, you can go on our social media. We'll put it on Facebook and Twitter.
Twitter,
Twitter and Instagram. So go on our Twitter or our Instagram today, Thursday, at TButty, TEABUTTY, and we'll put the question out and just see what Americans think is American culture.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I think it's the same thing that British people think is American culture.
Yeah. But then again, what is
apple
British
pie, they'll probably say.
British culture, it's like that's kind of recent too. I mean, culture, I guess you can't define it as like something that's been around for thousands of years. It's like, because say like 200 years ago, maybe I'm going to say 300 years ago, right, in Britain, people weren't eating fish and chips like they do now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or they certainly weren't having Chinese and Indian takeaways, and they weren't drinking beer. Well, maybe they were actually. They were drinking beer. It's essentially the same thing, but they weren't like having fish and chips in a pub, which is a cardinal sin in my opinion. Don't ever have fish and chips in a pub.
Are we confusing culture and heritage, or are they the same thing?
I don't know, really. Because, I mean, because from heritage, your culture develops, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think
if you're kind of saying you come to America and you're Irish and you come in and you say, oh, I'm Irish, I've just, and I'm just going to live Irish. But someone says, hey, man, I got 2 grills. Let's do a cookout, Let's wave the flag. Let's have apple pie. Let's watch the Super Bowl. Let's,
No, here's
I was like, I can't do that because I'm from Ireland and I don't do that.
No, here's a better example. My heritage is Irish, so I'm going to seek out other people in this country who are also Irish, and we're going to do things that remind us that we're Irish. So we're gonna, in Chicago, dye the river green on St. Patrick's Day, because that reminds us of Ireland for some reason.
Yes, because the rivers are all green in Ireland.
We're going to dye our beer green. We're going to wear...
Because they all drink green beer in Ireland.
We're going to wear... No, that's what I'm saying, though. They don't, but that's the culture.
So you're basically saying
the culture in America that Irish people have developed amongst themselves.
The color green.
Yeah, whatever. We're gonna wear
instead of eating Colcannon, or
Well, they might. I don't know. I'm not in the Irish American culture. I don't.
I thought you were Irish.
I don't know.
You tricked me.
I mean, that's another part of this topic that I guess we can get into because we have a little bit of time. But I think that is why, getting back to the difference between culture and heritage, though, I think you're right saying culture is something that develops out of heritage. But does it even come from heritage necessarily, or is it just a group of people? It's just a group
down
of
the
people
pub they started this new game called Skittles.
Because you think of hip hop culture.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily born out of heritage.
I suppose not.
Not necessarily. I mean, depending on who you ask.
It's just local people doing local things that gain popularity.
Not local. I don't think it's necessarily local. It's a group of people with the same interests.
Culture, that's how, local people doing local things that gain popularity to the masses.
Yeah.
That spread,
Yeah, I guess so.
Up in, like in Britain, I'm going to go back to my own, like, experiences growing up in Britain. And I suppose, like, I mean, one of my parents my mother was from Scotland, and my dad is from Wales. And so I was, constantly going up there to Scotland.
Yeah.
To see my, and I have more Scottish ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because when you do my DNA,
yeah, it's
about 99% or 98% British, isn't it?
I think. I think it's 100%.
100%.
It's 100%. I think it
now.
was not. I think it was 99%.
Because they thought it was
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian because we're so close to Norway and Sweden and stuff over there.
Scottish Highlands.
Scottish Highlands, yeah. Mm. So I had all of the British Isles in me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess so. And it's like so funny for, like, such a small area of the world to be so, like, but I mean, I guess that's colonization and everything like that,
Let's look at this, because you just made me think of something. British culture has a shared heritage.
Yes.
But Britain is made up of Scotland, England, and Wales.
Yes.
Right. So if a Scottish family, all Scottish, they have all their ancestry going back in Scotland, they've done their genealogy, and they go back centuries and centuries.
Yeah.
But in the year
2000
2021.
Yeah.
They decide, Dad got a job offer in England in somewhere that, man, he is going to be making so much. We just absolutely cannot. We're like the most super Scottish family ever in the history of Scotland, but we cannot pass over this opportunity. So we're going to move to England. They have a shared culture as all being British, but
moving to England is a big step.
That's gonna be sort of the same thing, I think, right?
It's the
They're
same.
They're gonna hang on to their Scottish heritage. They're gonna hang on to the fact that they're from Scotland and they're proud Scottish people, and they've eaten haggis. They've made haggis. This is so stereotypical, but they've made haggis in
fish
their
and
family
chips
for
and
centuries.
fried stuff and drink buckfast.
Yeah.
Very loyal to the
Iron
buckfast. Iron brew.
I
mean, you can get it in England.
Oh, they're never gonna have.
Can you get that in England, eh?
But I mean, yeah. But I mean,
Pizza Crunch. That's another Scottish staple.
Whatever. They're gonna hang on to their Scottish history because I don't share this. We don't share exactly the same things. From Scotland to England.
No, there's like a saying.
Isn't that the same thing? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah,
as people's ancestors in America having come from France or.
Because it's funny because there's a saying in America in the US, 100 years is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But in Europe, 100 miles is a long way.
Yeah.
And so, like if you're moving from Scotland to England, you may be doing 100 miles. Mm-hmm. And that's like, you move so far away, even though you're on a tiny little island.
Yeah.
You're so far away from your home.
Yeah.
And it's, it's funny to me that, I'm thinking about that now and how, like 20 miles away, I don't want to go to Cardiff or Edinburgh or whatever from Glasgow. It's too far,
Yeah.
And yet, somehow, the British Empire spanned a quarter of the earth,
Yeah.
And it's like, how did people get out of there? Figuring, it's a long way. It's a long way to that India and Australia. So, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because they just wanted to get off that bloody island. Because they're full of bloody people like that,
That's why. That's the reason for British colonization.
Yes, we just want to get off that island and create another colony where we can do the same thing. We can do it all over again. And this time get annoyed with our we're annoyed with our neighbours in our own country. We'll go and annoy someone else's neighbours now.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I was just reading this article before we started.
Yay, British!
Before we started recording, and it was saying that the Ancestry DNA kits, are like they've gotten so popular, especially during the pandemic. Because
everyone's spitting into the tube. Yeah.
Well, the Ancestry and then what is the other one? 23andMe. Because people want to know their genes, they want to know where they came from. They want to connect with family and stuff. And you and I have both done it.
Yeah.
Done the DNA test.
Yeah.
I think we did a podcast about it eons ago.
Yeah. A long time ago now.
But it was saying how more Americans have done it than elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because it goes with what we're talking about.
Where am I from?
Americans want to know where they're from, and for some reason...
That's an obsession. It's a national obsession. There's your culture.
Well, not in...
We got our shared heritage.
We're all obsessed with where did we come from.
Shared culture of... And it's so funny because who do you think you are?
Yeah.
That didn't really take off over here until Lisa Kudrow's seen it in Britain.
Yeah.
It's like, we should have that show over here. And it's just like, it's like, you're obsessed with it. Why not make a show about it?
But this article was saying how people in Britain and Europe get the tests done too, or the ones the people who do get the tests done. The results don't really mean as much to them as they do to Americans. They just kind of look at it and go, know. Because, and I think that's probably because it's mostly what you already knew.
It's mostly that. And, they have done, like, little bits of, like, saying, I'm 100% English, me.
Yeah.
Yeah, from here. And then somebody come back and say, well, actually, you're part German.
Yeah.
And I said, what? And he's like, oh yeah, and you're from, some Italian in here too, and Eastern European and all this. What?
But you mentioned...
I've been English all my life,
Yeah. But you mentioned to me, oh, you're Irish, aren't you? As a sort of a joke for anybody listening.
Yes.
Because like so many other families in this country, you have these stories in your family that, oh, we're part Native American, or oh, we're part Irish, or da 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 da. And then you get the ancestry DNA test done,
and there's absolutely zero Native American in you, and that's what people are hoping for. They're hoping for that too. They're hoping to be part Native American and part British.
Oh, definitely.
They're like, that's it.
That's absolutely it. There was that.
So I have ties to both countries, and I have a right to be here.
There was that whole controversy about Trump calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas because she kept claiming to be part Native American, it's saying that she made it up from this and that and whatever it was. But the thing is there are so many families in this country that have those same stories. Oh, well, my great-grandpa's mom was 100% Cherokee or whatever, and you believe it. You're not lying. You're just passing on the stories that you've heard since you were a kid, and that your parents said, and their parents said.
In today's climate, you need to be like, well, apparently.
Well, yeah.
According to.
But like you just said, the reason for those stories is to make us feel more connected to this country, because we are all just immigrants, aren't we? You know,
it's like that imposter syndrome, I guess. It's like, oh, I shouldn't really be here.
Yeah, well, I guess.
It's like, and that's why.
I guess it's sort of that, yeah. But it's more so just a matter of just wanting to have a connection to where you are and history and everything. You want you're right. I guess it is that you want to be able to say, oh, my family's always been here.
Yeah, so I'm 50% American and I'm 50% European.
Yeah.
So, I may be white, but I'm definitely American,
And I mean, I think that's understandable. I don't know why, other than the fact that you just can't relate, that you can't understand where Americans' obsession with the heritage comes from. And again, I don't mean you. I mean,
she does mean me. No, I mean, I get it. I get it on some level. I mean, I guess I would too, but I've just never, it's like, I wasn't really that into my results either, because it's like, it's not nothing I already didn't know.
But I think you'd feel differently if you didn't already know.
Yeah, I was hoping for a bit of surprise, actually.
Yeah.
I was there hoping, so maybe I'll get some Portuguese or, I figured Scandinavian because,
it's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Vikings and all that, But, like something like Russian or, whatever,
Isn't it interesting, though, to... I've said all of this. I've said we want to cling to our heritage so that we feel like we have some sort of place in history, or we hope that we have some Native American blood so that we can feel like we belong here. But I don't want to say where does it come from, but I do think it's interesting that we feel like we need to belong somewhere. Because what does belong even mean? You know what I mean? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
I now belong here because my DNA
now.
results said, X, Y, and Z. I belong in whatever. But that being said, my DNA results, and actually not so much the DNA results, but I am very, very interested in researching genealogy just because
Genealogy bank, yeah. Ancestral findings.
Oh my god. Just because I'm so interested in history in general.
Yeah.
I do think that knowing your family's story makes history come more to life. It makes it come more alive.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Because you then, when you're learning, oh, I had a relative who
would just stay in here,
who fought in this war, or my family, they all migrated across the country on, the whatever trail or whatever, Suddenly the stuff you learned in history all your life, you're like, oh, I had people there. Like, this is all kind of just making it more real, really. And I think that they should. I remember when I was in like 3rd grade or something, we were assigned to do our family tree. Like we were supposed to go ask our grandparents what were our great grandparents' names, and we had to make a little family tree, and that was like an assignment in class.
Yeah.
I think there should be like a whole maybe section of history that you learn in school everywhere, not just in America, where you have to do your own genealogy, and you have to actually look it up. It's a different topic, but
well, yes,
you have to actually look it up and make sure that you're getting the right people. And the people that you found actually are members of your family. You can't just be
clicking leaves like some people do.
Yeah,
it's like, oh wow, look at this.
There has to be like documents to support, that the people are your people. But I think that you should have to do that because it does just give you a better understanding and a better appreciation for history in general. And I think it would, whether you're in America or in Britain or Europe or wherever, Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my rambling for the day.
And we hope you enjoyed all that, everybody.
I hope I didn't bore you.
Because that's all we have time for, I'm afraid.
I'm so passionate about this subject, you guys. I just absolutely
Erica's genealogy bank.
Yes, if someone
her ancestral
would pay me to just sit, I would literally look up anybody's genealogy. Like I love it. I'm
ever since we met, you've been obsessed with like looking stuff up.
I'm like looking yours up. I'm looking random people's up. It's so interesting to me. And a lot of people research their genealogies in the hopes that they're going to find royalty or something, or a famous person.
Yeah. That's mainly what it is. It's like, have I got links to someone famous that I can exploit?
Yeah. And then a lot of people don't want to know their genealogy because, I don't want to find out that my family owned slaves or that my family had a murderer in it or something like that. And it's just like, you cannot help or change what's already been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like everything that's happened has happened, whether you find it out or not. So it's like... Yeah.
It's a story that's already been written.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting to me. We gotta go.
We've gotta go. That's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope it didn't bore you to tears with all of this. But I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah. I mean, it is an interesting topic. I mean, I was interested in it. And, yeah.
Yeah. I hope I've explained a little bit to anybody who's like, oh, why are Americans always saying they're Irish? A little bit like...
Or saying they're Irish or saying whatever,
Giving a little peek into why. Yeah, into just why.
I think you did it.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate your support. Be sure to choke us. Choke us?
Check us?
Please don't choke us.
Choke us or check us?
Please be sure not to choke us.
Please check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are TEABUTTY.
Yeah, at T-Buddy.
At T-Buddy.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hey.